I did the majority of the building out. And while it worked and it was great, it was fantastic, we didn't have an app that was along with it. So
Mm,
then it was like, oh, wait, we don't have an app. So trying to get people to log in was very, very difficult.
it's a pretty good time of the year, right? But for whatever
Yeah.
reason, last fall, going to conferences and things like that, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's really weird and it's slow. But now looking back, we're like, gosh, we're thankfully way ahead, right? So it's really
Yeah.
important to prepare for those times, and at the same time, always have options and, present them because you just never know. Welcome back to Hot Tea with Uma and Bree. If you've been stuck in the cycle of one-off sessions, launches, or events, and you're craving more sustainability and community, this one is for you. Today, we're talking about the power of memberships, why we built ours, how it changed our income and impact, and how you can think about shifting your business model to something that supports both freedom and long-term growth. Bree, my friend, let's talk about it. Let's
Listen.
get into it.
Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of memberships. I discovered them back in, I don't know, that was probably 2023 when I started taking a nosedive into memberships. And at that point in time, we were just doing one offs. It was more like one offs and like packages and stuff like that. And what I realized is it was very hard to kind of predict income, right? So you kind of have this like feast or famine, like income that you kind of think through when it comes to just one offs, right? Like it's like you assume that clients are going to continue to work with you, but sometimes you don't know, right? So it's hard to predict from month to month what could be coming through. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of pressure, especially when you're first starting out, when it comes to just relying on one to ones because you think about, okay, like, I hope this client stays around, or like, I don't know how many clients I'll have next month. And
Mhm.
in the beginning of your journey as a private practice owner or just a business owner in general, that can be hard. I mean, I'm sure it's the same for like those of you who may be trainers or, physical therapists or whatever, just not being sure if somebody's going to stick around from month to month. So it can kind of drain your energy a little bit and you feel like you're kind of always chasing and not able to predict. So I don't know, like, have you had that same experience when it came to one-on-ones?
Yeah, definitely. I would even say right now, with being in our new space and having been here for a little over a year, like we've really gotten an idea of like what's working, what's not, what could be better, and just getting feedback from our community. And so for our athletes that are like multi-sport athletes or they're doing school, they're doing club AAU, it's a great option to be able to provide to them just because let's just be honest, there's just seasons in which they can't be as locked in, but they still want that support. And so it definitely allows them to be consistent with us. It allows us to
Mm.
be able to help them more thoroughly. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I definitely think that depending on the type of sports, health, wellness professional you are, memberships can for sure work. It's just a matter of, I think we've talked about this before in a previous episode recently, just assessing what the need is for your organization and really just tapping into your community to see how you can best serve them and create that membership that makes the most sense. What about you?
I
Like, how
agree.
did you guys like create yours?
Yeah, it was
Like, what
all
did you
about
base it
what
off
was the
of?
need. Honestly, like it was all about what is the need of the group. So, the way we kind of came into developing ours, we realized that 90% of our clientele that was coming to us for like one-to-one sessions were women of color. And we were like,
Mm,
okay, how do we serve them in a way that makes sense? And then we kind of thought about ourselves and we said, well, what do
yeah.
we need? What do we like? What are some things that we enjoy or rely upon in this season of our life? So it was kind of a combination of taking our own personal stories and our own
Yeah.
journeys and pairing it with like 90% of our clientele and what they were saying and bringing something together that would serve them in a way that was also more affordable and sustainable
Mhm.
for them
Yeah.
than maybe, what we previously, because y'all know we've talked about this before on the pod, before we were self pay, right? We were cash pay completely. So this is even before we started taking insurance.
Uh-huh.
So for us, creating that membership was also a lower cost buy-in, again, something that would support all the things that they needed. And that helped us to kind of build out what we wanted to include. And again, like, I think that's probably the most important thing when you are developing your membership, is developing just like that ideal client, right? Like, who is your MVP, right? Like, this is the
Mm-hmm.
person that is going to buy into this membership. So like, what do you need to provide them with to create that real transformation that would make them even want to partake in a membership? And that's really what we did. We deep dove into our needs and what our clients needed and developed a community from there.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like we all can say that we're in the business, the service business of transformation, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, really, when you think about memberships, it's about like, how can you make that happen for your client base and, allow them to just, like you said, just sustain their progress, sustain their changes, their commitment, and really feel like this is a place they can stay and how you can best
Mhm.
serve them. So, I love the idea of memberships. I know that for me, before I really like went into like private practice, like well rooted more on the 180 side, it was a great option for like even my power lifters, bodybuilders,
Mhm.
just because just like any other like athlete, they had their in seasons, off seasons, like, hey, we're in a hypertrophy phase, now we're in a cutting
Yeah.
phase, all that other stuff. So it really can work. It's just a matter of how you market it though. Wouldn't you
Mhm.
agree?
I agree. I do think it's how you market it. And also like being real about, and I'm sure we'll probably get to this a little later, but just being real about the inclusions, because
Yeah.
for us, like when we shifted to having that membership model, it was like, okay, even though we knew it would be time consuming to create the content and like actually sustain the membership, for us, it was like, okay, this is a little bit lower lift of a way for us to serve way more people in a group
Hmm.
setting, right? So for us, we were including, group coaching calls and like events and things like that. And it allowed us to say, okay, like, I can't work with all these people one to one, but what I can
Right.
do is provide them with coaching calls or whatever to where the group of them might have access to me or might have access to somebody else on our team. And so that was huge. And so when we were marketing it, so we beta tested the community first and did a lot of just like marketing emails and things like that. We
Hmm.
marketed it specifically as a community with resources, right?
Oh, I
So
love that.
whatever your membership is, you have to market it that way, right? Like if you are marketing transformation, then you have to market it that way. If you are
Right.
marketing, if you have a community like we do, it was more like community with resources. So they knew,
Yeah.
okay, like I might not get to work with Bree one on one, but I know that like she's available, right? So and obviously things have shifted for us having the membership this long now, but the marketing piece is so important because they're going to expect that when they sign up for the membership. They're going to be looking to see like, okay, they said this was included, that was included, and they want to be sure that it includes what we say it's going to include.
Absolutely. And I mean, kind of talking from the business side of things, consistent income is huge. We've kind of already like
Mhm.
lightly touched on that, but I mean, there are seasons to where income just flows and comes through, and you're just like, ooh, ooh, ooh,
Girl.
here it's coming. And then there are seasons that are unexpected to where it's just like, okay, here's a drop here. So this is
Mhm.
definitely something that can fill the gap from the business side of things because you can always have that as an option in addition to all the other services that you offer. So, for
Yes.
those of you guys that are listening, you're thinking about, hey, I mean, a lot of people right now, including myself, probably you two, Brie, are planning for 2026. Like, we're kind of past the
Mhm.
whole Q3, Q4 phase. Like, this is
Yep.
definitely
Girl.
something to really think about because it could be a great add-on. And this is a great time too to kind of maybe put out some polls, surveys to your current client base and figure out, hey, like this is something we're thinking about offering. What would serve you best? What would you like to see
Mhm.
in a membership?
Yeah, that's good. I agree with everything you said, especially the point of if you are considering this, like polling your audience, polling the people that are already listening to you,
Yeah.
because they're going to be the ones to tell you what they want. And obviously, if you don't have things in there that your clientele wants, they're not going to buy it. Period. You will hear crickets and it will suck. So don't build out your membership without doing at least some background work to figure that out. And I think that's part of like what makes a strong membership, right? So it's more than just having that recurring income, which is nice for us as business owners. But on the flip side, it's okay, how are you bringing recurring value to that client? So if you poll them and they tell you, hey, here's this long list of things that I would love to have in this membership, right? Well, you might not be able to include all that in the beginning, but you can add on, as time goes, which adds
Yeah.
recurring value to your membership, so don't feel like, oh, I have to do it all at once. Say, okay, all these people told me all these great things. It sounds amazing. I would love to include that in the membership. So let's start with what's going to give them the quick wins first. What
Ooh,
is
I
the
like
most
that. The
essential
quick
stuff?
wins.
The quick wins, because that's what folks want. We
Yes.
live in a time where like people want things fast. And so
Hmm.
what's quick? Like what's going to give them what they need right away? And then you start adding on value as you go, and that always helps. So I think that's one of those huge things, and something that we've even done in our own membership. We're constantly looking at what can we add? What do the members want? What are they not using? Once you do get started,
Yeah,
like what are they
that
not
part.
using anymore? Because sometimes that happens too. You put something in there and they just don't use it. And I'm like, okay, well,
Hmm.
can we swap this out with something that
Hmm.
maybe they'll utilize a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you said that because I mean, you always want to reevaluate and really, again, repoll, resurvey your audience. Say, hey, okay, so this is how long we've been running this. What do you like? What do you do not like? What would you like to see instead of what you don't like? And then figure out how you can add that in and make it even more valuable to them because that is where the retention comes in. People
Yes.
want to be able to feel like the time that they're invested in and the money that they invest is actually giving them what they want and more. So I
Mhm.
love the fact that you already hit on that point because that's extremely important. And on top of that, I just thought about this with all that's going on right now in the world. Okay. Everybody is trying to think about a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are thinking about budgeting and they've allowed this whole year to take its course and see how the chips have fallen. So
Yes.
memberships can be a really great option just because typically they are a little bit more affordable than some of your other
Mhm.
services. So if you are thinking about ways to be able to expand your business audience, this is a great time frame to really think about it so you can market it that way.
Yes, big facts. Cash is low for some people. Yeah, so I agree. I think the other things that make a strong membership are understanding that when you have a business, there will be different seasons. And we already touched on this a little bit. So preparing in advance for what those seasons will look like, right? Because over the course of a year, I know for us as dietitians, like everybody's group practice is different, but there's going to be slower seasons. There's going to be seasons where things are going crazy and everybody wants a one-to-one session and all this stuff, but again, there's going to be some times where those phones or emails or whatever you use, might not be ringing the way that they normally are. So having a membership set up that allows for that kind of flexibility can be very helpful to kind of bridge the gap when things might get a little tight. So I know for us, we built our pricing models based it our tiers based off of that, because we
Yeah,
knew it real story. Like when we were building out our tiers, we said, okay, well, at the time we had a higher ticket tier, we got a medium ticket tier, and then we had a low, very low ticket tier. And we said, okay, during the months where people may be a little bit tighter budget wise, for us, normally that's August, back to school. That is early summertime when people are planning vacations. Those are kind of the tougher times for people that may want to invest in their health, but maybe they don't because they are putting their funds toward other things. So we knew, okay, during those months where things might be a little tighter, the clients might take advantage of the lower tier option, which they did. And during months where they were like, nah, I really need to be diving into this, like I really need to pour in, they took advantage of the higher tier options. And so for us, that helped us as a business in our seasons. So your client's going
for
through
sure.
seasons and you're going through seasons as a business owner, but at least you're kind of meeting in the middle there where like they feel they can still get the services they need and you still feel like you have residual income coming through. So that flexibility and pricing accordingly can help a lot.
For sure. I agree with that. And even just looking at just in general, people spending, right? Like we know towards the end of the year, it's rough. Holidays, travel, all kinds of things. And then really at the top of the year, it's the same because now you're trying to recoup from all the spending from said previous season.
Yes.
And I think that we can say as a whole, a lot of people are just more about saving just because there is so much that's unknown and so many things that have happened this year, right? So it's great to have these options because there's so many different variables that go into people's budget and what they're willing to
Yeah.
spend. I know for our business, we always kind of look back, like, I mean, we look at things quarterly, but we
Hmm.
always look at retrospectively of like, okay, this time last year, how are we doing? When was our dips? Last year, interestingly enough, for instance, and as a whole, I feel like a lot of strength and conditioning spaces, sports nutrition spaces, talking to a lot of people that we know just in the space, everybody said that fall was rough, like oddly rough. And it
Interesting.
typically is a pretty good time of the year, right? But for whatever
Yeah.
reason, last fall, going to conferences and things like that, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's really weird and it's slow. But now looking back, we're like, gosh, we're thankfully way ahead, right? So it's really
Yeah.
important to prepare for those times, but at the same time, always have options and, present them because you just never know.
Oh my God. And you know what? I'll say one thing on this too. There is value in having an owned community. So when I say
Oh, for
that, I
sure.
mean, like obviously we have our Instagrams. You might, if you're, somebody that's on TikTok or whatever, or maybe even a Facebook group, like, having an owned community during the slow seasons
Yeah,
is a game changer.
for
It's a game
sure.
changer
That's a
because
really good point.
you control the pace in which that community is thriving. So if you're in a
Hmm.
slow season and you're like, hey, you know what? I can pour even more into this community right now. Maybe I can do like a challenge, or maybe I can do, something special specifically for the community to boost sales during this slow season. I cannot tell you,
Hmm.
like, we have done that during times where things have been slow for us. Putting
Yeah,
on a challenge might bring 20, 30 people to the community, right? Like, and those
absolutely.
things can be helpful because you will have seasons where it might be slow. And obviously we're both coming to you from like experience. Like, this is not us
Right.
reading through a book and saying, oh,
We've
you
been
might
through it
experience this.
multiple times.
We've been
Yeah.
there, okay? Like, but having that owned community really allows you to pour in and boost income. And sometimes you might feel, especially when you're developing your membership, that dang, like I'm putting a lot of work in up front to create this. But
Hmm.
in the long run, like once it's done and created, the work will come during your slower seasons when you can pour more into it and stay consistent. So just know, like,
Yeah.
when you have it, it's there, especially for those slow seasons.
Yeah. And for those of you that are like in the fitness, sports performance space where you know that you're always going to have new faces, people coming and going, in those slow times, like a bring a friend is always a bring a friend week or whatever is
Yeah.
always a great way for more exposure and always a great way to market things like this. Or holiday challenges, like you already said, Bree, doing whatever type of challenge that looks like. That's another really great way to up and boost your sales and community. So just always be thinking a season or two ahead
Mhm.
because
Oh,
you can already have some of this stuff in
preach.
place, be able to market it, get it in people's ears. And hey, maybe at that point, they can be able to figure out how to budget for things like this in the event that they
Mhm.
don't have one. So,
Yes. 2 to
yes,
3 seasons in advance.
it's always great. Not always doable, but ideal. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Life
Yes.
happens. We all know that life be
You
lifing.
know I know it.
So I'm sure you guys are like, how in the world do we get started with all of this without overcomplicating it? Great question. Make sure that you always start small. I think we've said this in previous episodes about a lot of different services and endeavors, including starting your business in the first place. Start small and then build. It's
Mhm.
funny. I was actually talking to another dietitian, strength conditioning duo last week, just about a vision, not necessarily about memberships, but about vision for a business. And it's easy for us to always think big, like, this is what I want. I want all the bells and whistles. I'm sure you've been there too, Bree. But
Mhm.
I told her, I was like, start small and then be forced to
Yeah.
grow, right? Because
Yes.
start with something that you can handle, you can refine, you can perfect. and make it really, really, really valuable, shiny, and pretty, and then
Mhm.
grow from there. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about that?
I second that. It is better to start a membership off with the least, right? The bare minimum, that again will get your clients those quick wins and build it up over time versus biting off more than you can chew and having to switch it up. So, real
Yeah.
story, when we started the Naw Collective, one of the tiers in our membership did include one-to-one coaching. And I loved it. It was great. It was lucrative. But then when we started transitioning away from that and we started taking insurance, it made things a little more tricky.
Yeah,
And we had to backstep. Girl, what a
I could see
mess.
that.
So I don't recommend it. Okay. Like start small. Now it's more like of an upsell, an add-on for people that come to us through one-to-one or those that are just looking for community. But
Yeah.
hindsight 2020, I would have started smaller. If I knew that eventually we were going to take insurance, like I would have started smaller. I would have created something a little more basic. But I took on the world. We took on the world. And
Yeah.
I agree. Start smaller. You can always build. You can always add more stuff. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. And nine times out of 10, it won't be perfect. Your very first anything is going to be awful. When you look
A
back on it,
mess.
like it's going to be bad. And eventually
A
it'll get way
mess.
better. So, and that's why I know for us, like we always reward our founding members because they're the ones that have seen the growth from like
Mhm.
super trash to like, oh, this is nice, girl. We got an app, like it's great.
Straight up. That
Like,
part.
that Tiffany Haddish, like, was, ooh, this is nice. Like, that's how they
Right.
feel now, like, because they've been there. So,
Right.
like, you can always get better. You will get better with time. It's just, it takes time, but start small. 10 to 10 recommend
Yeah.
that.
And to your point, Ree, it's like, let them know, like, this is something
Mhm.
we're trying. Like, expect there to be some growing pains, some ebb and flows, and some of the things that we're
Yes.
doing. Let your community know. And I think honestly, what I can say from experience is that they always do feel special as those founding members. Like, hey, yeah, we were part of it from whenever it came up in the first, you know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And they like to see the growth and everything, and they just feel real special, and make them feel special. Let them know that they're special because yeah, they were the first people to go through the storm with you.
I agree. I think so that's a part of your beta launch strategy. So if you don't know
Yeah.
what a beta is, we're going to talk about it real quick. So whenever you beta test something, you basically are kind of sampling it, right? You're testing a small sample to see if it's going to work, right? So that's why we said in the beginning, like, don't just launch something. You want to test it out. Anytime you create a product, you want to test it out. And that's definitely stands for memberships too, because you can test out a membership before going full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when we were building out the Naw Collective, we did do a beta. And before building it out, I took a deep dive into some membership gurus like the Membership Geeks and Stu, I think his last name is McLaurin, really dove into, what they had to say about membership. So first and foremost, do your research on like what a beta launch even looks like, because there are people out there that have podcasts, they have programs that can help you to understand what that strategy needs to look like, and they will walk you through it. So I ended up purchasing I believe I got it from the Membership Geeks, and they had just like the map out how you develop and launch your membership.
Mm-hmm.
And in using that, we developed the beta of the Naw Collective. And just like you had said, being honest with the people about what we were doing, we said, hey, this is a beta test of this community. It is going to be some trial and error, but we want to see if you guys like it and how well it works for us too. And
Yeah.
with that being said, it helped us a lot to understand not only what the members actually wanted, but also, what are some things we need to work on when we tested it
Mm-hmm.
out, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't really use a lot of funding for the beta because, again, you're trying to figure out if you're going to continue to do it or not. So don't throw a ton of
Right.
money at it, knowing that, like,
Right.
this very well may not last past 3 months. So using low cost technology and resources, but also being very, very, very transparent with those that are a part of the beta launch saying, hey, we're testing this out. If it
Yeah.
works, it will be much nicer than what we have it right now, but we got to test it to see.
Absolutely. I agree with that all. And I think that, people are going to be asking that are listening, do you charge for a beta testing? What are your fees? And I think that's really up to you. I'm going to say that in all honesty. Some people, depending on how long this period is going to be, will say, yeah, this is a lot of time and effort. And while we might not charge the full price, we are going to charge something so that people can also be bought into it, take it seriously, actually know that this is for sure something that likely will be continue to be rolled out. Some people may opt to not. And so that's completely up to you. I think there's a lot that goes into deciding which path you want to take, but definitely agree that beta testing is always the way to go with anything that you do that's new and service based, because it's like you want to work out the kinks and you want to make sure that you're not just throwing out a product or a service out there and you don't have any proof in the pudding.
Girl,
lack of better terms. Proof in the pudding. Now, there's a lot of different tech tools out there that you can definitely utilize for memberships. I mean, when it comes to software, I know that on the 180 side, we have like everything, our website, CRM, we have an app. It's all together, which is wonderful. For those of you that are in the fitness, strength, and conditioning community, many of you are probably familiar with Push Press, and I think it's a great tool just because you have everything in there, client communication. You can literally build out everything in that platform, but everybody's different. I think it's just a matter of, like Bria's already said, do your research, see what makes the most sense. Make sure that whatever you do pick is user-friendly, because there's a lot of software and things out there that suck.
Yeah.
And so you obviously don't want to be playing around with that on the back end. And you also don't want to throw that to your community, because that can definitely mess up the flow and the feel of the experience.
Girl.
So that's what we utilize. Of course, on the Well Rooted side, we definitely take advantage of our EMR. It definitely is low lift. We're already paying for it anyway. So I think it's really about making sure when you do review, evaluate your membership offerings, like what specific types of functions need to be had. So are you offering meal plans? Okay, so what does that look like? Are you going to be doing coaching calls? What does that look like? Making sure that you can find, ideally, a platform that has the majority of what you need, so they're not having to essentially log in and log out to multiple different places to be able to access you and your resources. What about you?
Oh my gosh, you hit all the pain points. Like, where are they most likely to be?
Right.
Where, if they're like, for us, you mentioned this already, like if your clients are already in an EMR, like a Practice Better or something like that, keep them in there. Don't try your hardest not to take them out, because one, not everybody is tech savvy, but two, like anytime you remove them from an area and redirect them to another area, you're losing attention, right? You're losing their attention span, and it's hard to get that back. From experience, I tested out building my own membership site on web, and I don't recommend doing that. Obviously, we did have a web team that helped us, but I did the majority of the building out. And while it worked and it was great, it was fantastic, we didn't have an app that was along with it. So then it was like, oh, wait, we don't have an app. So trying to get people to log in was very, very difficult. And eventually it started slowing down because of the platform we decided to use. So if you're going to build out your own thing, make sure you have a web team there that can help you with that. Also, consistently support you on the back end with the web maintenance, to make sure it's going fast and all those things. Make sure that, if you can have an app, have an app. We live in a generation where apps are it. People don't want to get out their computer to log into your platform. So if you can have an app, listen, me either. I prefer, is it in the app store, girl?
I don't have time for that.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, nobody wants to do that. So just no. I've been burned doing that. I spent a lot of time building that platform, and we eventually transferred everything over to Circle.so. I love Circle. It's fantastic, like membership platform. There's other ones out there too, like School, some other like mainstream ones, depending on the type of content that you're going to be pushing out. You can use something
Exactly.
like a Thinkific, a Kajabi, right? Like there are platforms, but again, you have to know what you are pouring out and also where your clientele is going to be. If you already have clients coming through one stream, or one platform, if you can keep them there, great. If there's no way to keep them there, okay. Find the next
Right.
best resource that will support everything that you have.
100, 100, 100. And I mean, and the reality is that sometimes depending on the services that you offer, if it's dual to, like if you're offering training, for instance, and you're offering nutrition and maybe you're offering some recovery components as well. I mean, you may have to have a
Mhm.
couple to work with just to make sure that everything that you provide is top tier. So it's not to say that you're going to have this perfect situation in which it's just a one-stop shop. But what we are
Mhm.
saying is do your research before you're quick to make a selection and figure out what's going to make the most sense, short term and long term.
Yeah. And one last thing I will add in is like if you have a membership that is not necessarily connected to maybe the one-to-one services that you're offering, then it's okay to have them on a separate platform, right?
For
So
sure.
for us, Steph and Bree Wellness is where everybody comes for one-to-one. And then if we market Now Collective on its own, right? It's its own
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's its
Yeah.
own, group and community. So people that want the Now Collective can very well be in the platform for the Now Collective and not be anywhere near our
Yeah.
Practice Better, right? Like because they just want the community and the resources. So that's an
Yeah.
instance where like it's okay if everything's separate, and they might not cross over that much.
Right.
That's fine. So just
That's a
giving a
good
heads
point.
up there if you are considering different platforms. And one other tool that we're testing out right now is Go High Level because it's kind of a combination of the CMR as well as the membership, and it's been pretty fun. They also have courses too. So as we find out more about tech, we'll be sharing it with y'all because there's lots out there.
So much tech. God help us. But it's great. It's like a beauty and a curse, right?
It's nice because, like, there's always something for somebody, but do take your
Mm-hmm.
time. Do take your time because a lot of platforms coming out now, they are starting to get a little more expensive, and not all of them will allow you to transfer your members over to other platforms super easily, right? So
Right.
just be aware of that. Make sure when you're looking at tech tools, it aligns with what you're offering, and then also be sure that if you ever decided to move away from that tech tool, that the transfer would be simple
Woo,
and you don't have to
for
do
real.
one-to-one members by hand because that's going to hurt for real, for real.
And with that being said, too, as you guys are doing some like shopping and looking around, a lot of them, not all of them, do allow for you to speak to a customer service representative or someone in which you can actually talk to, as opposed to just looking at what they have on the website and have a deeper conversation about what all that you need. And that Q&A session can be real helpful and save you a lot of time. Consider that as well. That helped
Yes,
us.
100%. 100%. All right, y'all. Well, when we think about your time and your energy, you need structure. Okay. Memberships can help you do that. Also, it might give you a little bit of support during those slower seasons. So you never
Mm-hmm.
know, having something residual can be helpful. But again, you have to figure out what's going to work for you and your business. Also, you don't need a giant audience to start. Okay. So just know,
Say
I
it.
know for us, when we started the Knot Collective, there was no Knot Collective. We had to build that audience. Okay. There wasn't. Okay. So just know, like, you don't need a huge audience to start your membership. You just want to make sure that you have a clear offer, a consistent promise. So you deliver on what you say you're going to deliver, and a heart for serving people well over time. If you can do those
Mm.
things, then you will be able to have a successful membership. But all that got to come together. And you also got to make sure that your members actually want what you're offering, or again,
Say
it's
for
going to be
real.
crickets. Okay. So just
That
know
part.
that if this episode sparked a new idea for you or your business model, feel free to DM us on IG at Hot Tea with Uma and Bree and let us know what's brewing because we want to know what's up. Until next
Yes.
time, also, don't forget to drop comments on our YouTube so y'all can see our beautiful facial expressions as we come through.
Yes. We're so animated.
Yes. And drop
So
us a like.
unserious.
Okay, we need some likes on our podcast, platform. So drop us a like
for real.
on the pods, on the YouTube, whatever. And also check out our Facebook group coming, the community.
What? Emphasis on the T. Emphasis on the T.
It's tea. So check us out.
So T.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
More to
y'all.
come.
We're done. We're done here today. So thanks for sipping with us today at Hot Tea with Uma and Bree.
Got my iced tea because it's
Oh,
100
what
degrees
is that?
outside.
Where's the... Okay, y'all. Well, we don't both have
Iced tea.
but cheers.